The times they are a-changin'. Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 British shows that would never get made today.
This marigold orders, put on the slate, put on the slate, put on the slate.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Culture naturally evolves over time, along with what's considered acceptable in society and entertainment, and British TV has a plethora of shows that were once considered the norm but are now cringe-inducing and even shocking to look back on. For this list, we'll be counting down those series which were par for the course at the time, but would never get the green light in today's environment.
Oh. Why?
Because I thought for a change, we might have a conversation.
Number 10, It Ain't Half Hot Mum.
Base ingratitude, that's what it is. Quit India. I should bloody Kogo.
Set in the dying months of World War II, It Ain't Half Hot Mum followed a group of British soldiers stationed in India. The problem was the Indian characters were presented as lazy stereotypes rather than realistic representations.
You tell him his job is to punker. And he has to keep punkering, or he'll get my foot up his punker.
Though the biggest controversy of the show was one of those characters being portrayed by the white actor Michael Bates, who wore brown makeup for the role.
Now, Sab, this eye is man's eyes, this eye is woman's eyes, and Sab, their eyes meet.
While some still look back on the series fondly, there's a clear reason this doesn't often get repeated on TV, unlike many other sitcoms of yesteryear.
Must be some damn cricketers amongst them.
Number 9, Bottom.
Raven-haired, millionairess, gay.
While it's hard to deny the comic genius of Rick Mayall and Ade Edmondson, there would simply be no place in today's TV landscape for Richard and Eddie Hitler. The lead characters of Bottom were highly sexualized, perverted, and misogynistic.
Richie and Eddie's big Halloween party. Plenty of booze and jugged up babes. Shaggy, shaggy, shag.
Quite frankly, Ofcom wouldn't be able to handle the sheer number of complaints their actions would bring about in this day and age.
No, someone has to lift the window open. Oh well, I still hope I don't fall out of it.
Not to mention, it may just be the most bombastically violent comedy sitcom ever, with legs being chainsawed off as just one example of why.
I'm just sewing my legs back on.
Forget us that. I thought you were masturbating again.
Number 8, Are You Being Served?
If my pussy isn't attended to by 8 o'clock, I shall be stroking it for the rest of the evening.
Before you say anything, Mr. Humphreys, Captain Peacock, Mrs. Slocum and her pussy wouldn't make it past the pilot stage in the modern era.
He refuses to come down. The mere sight of my pussy drives him mad.
But just how offensive can a show set in a clothing section of a department store be, you ask? You'd be surprised.
Whatever happens, I'll be there at the front the next time.
Dressed as a woman with a ticket for Sweden, no doubt.
Overflowing with boundary-pushing sexual innuendos and double entendres, Are You Being Served would likely be a tough nut to swallow for millennial audiences.
I'm just asking your sales girl if she's got one cut a bit lower.
How much lower did you have in mind?
The nudge-nudge wink-wink humour simply doesn't hold nowadays, and this was probably the most blatant sitcom of its type.
Great, brother.
Look at him, rehearsing his German phrases.
He'll be clicking his heels in a minute.
Number 7, There's Something About Miriam.
But this is no ordinary dating show, because there's something about Miriam that guys don't know.
A reality show featuring 6 young guys all competing for the affection of a 21-year-old model. So far, so cliché. However, the twist was that the model, Miriam, was a pre-op transsexual. Great for transgender representation in the media, right? Well, not exactly. The hook of the series, the group of hunks vying for Miriam's approval, went in on this bit of progressive inclusiveness.
I think it's about time for them to know.
As such, the contestants had no idea she wasn't born a woman, and the whole show was built around the anticipation of their looming disappointment upon finding out. Absolutely tasteless.
I'm not a woman. I was born as a man.
Number 6, Little Britain.
Hallelujah! I is from the ghetto.
David Walliams and Matt Lucas's comical sketch show Little Britain pulled in record viewing figures during its run on the BBC. Loved and endlessly quoted by audiences, fans couldn't get enough of the caricatures the show presented. Since, however, Lucas himself has suggested the series would never get made today and has voiced regret over the programme's mocking of transvestites.
Well, my name is Emily Howard, and I'm a lady. And because I'm a lady, I like to do ladies' things like...
That's on top of his portrayal of black and female characters. He might be right in referring to his creation as a cruel kind of comedy.
Hello, baby. So nice to meet you.
Number 5, Mind Your Language.
A medal win for my black bottom.
Oh, blimey.
The writers of Mind Your Language should have taken the title's advice. This blatantly xenophobic hit spanned from the late 70s and mid 80s and is clearly a product very much of its time.
How much is a television license? I'm not knowing. I never buy one.
The English as a foreign language class setting resulted in an abundance of one-note foreign characters, all while the white British lead struggled to maintain control.
What is the capital of England?
Indians, Chinese, the French, no one was spared from the prejudice ribbing. Except for the English guy, of course. Oh, and naturally a little sexist attitude was sprinkled in to boot.
Hey, what's happening?
Taro and Suli have decided to live together in harmony.
Is that like living in sin?
Number 4, Till Death Us Do Part.
Mix so to think about it, eh? They're taking mine off their both sides with it, eh?
Alf Garnett was the main character of Till Death Us Do Part, a hateful, racist, British Empire worshipping bigot.
I suppose if he did put the coos down the pits, he could always whitewash their faces first.
According to the series creator, Alf was purportedly a satirical creation intended to highlight racist divide amongst the working class. Whether the intentions were noble or not, a section of the audience ended up admiring him as a truth-spouting hero.
I had to go to Heathrow, meet my cousin.
Oh, bloody marvellous. They're flying them in now.
That isn't a risk that would be taken in the present, and regardless of the ostensible goals of the series, the language used would never be cleared today.
I mean, if the truth be told, you'd like to ship them all back again, wouldn't you? So, but we don't want them, mate, because we've got enough of our own.
Number 3, Love Thy Neighbour.
An emergency meeting of the Executive Committee.
Yes, I can smell it.
Another series where the creators defended its concept by alleging it to be a work of satire, the fine line between that and reveling in racist humour becomes harder to distinguish.
Sabooth on your new neighbour.
Bloody no.
Just the very concept of Love Thy Neighbour, where an Englishman struggles to come to terms with a black couple moving in next door, would have contemporary TV executives spitting out their venti lattes. And with good reason.
You know, you're civilised now. You're nearly like one of us.
When reruns of the show have to come with a content warning, you know there's something not quite right about the whole thing.
I've always been against them and his kind. They're the enemy, love. It's either them or us. If I had my way, I'd deport the lot.
Number 2, The Word. It doesn't get much more 90s than this. The Word was a magazine-formatted show which aired on Channel 4, where controversy was encouraged, and it didn't disappoint. Memorable moments included a stage invasion during a Rage Against the Machine performance, a highly intoxicated Oliver Reed interview, singer Danita Sparks displaying full frontal nudity during a performance, and Shabba Ranks suggesting homosexuals should be crucified.
You deserve crucifixion, most definitely.
Plus, members of the audience doing anything to get on TV, including making out with pensioners and licking sweat off of people. Enough said. Number 1, The Black and White Minstrel Show.
Viva, 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 viva Maria.
A series where dancers black-faced for their performances. Does anything else need to be said? What's wrong here doesn't take much explanation, but this BBC variety show began in the 50s and somehow spanned an incredulous 20-year run. This was despite numerous complaints of racism, reportedly increasing with every passing year.
Did you ever find heaven right in your arms, saying
At one point, the series was even replaced by a spin-off that didn't involve any blackfacing. But unhappy with the viewing figures it achieved, the Beebs swiftly brought back the original, with all integrity seemingly thrown out of the proverbial window.
Hey boy, that's the way for me.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo UK, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.